Yeah. Okay. So you're just waiting for his connection? Is that?
Doug and Brandon are gonna be the only ones to call in or join via WebEx. Everybody else is here.
Okay.
As far as I know. That's what Doug's saying anyway.
Okay.
And at the moment, the phone is called in here, it's not muted, but nobody else is on the line.
Okay. All right. Keep my thoughts to myself. It is.
Every day.
Not me that's making it both though. That's right. It's cold everywhere on the second floor. Well, I mean, not everywhere, but in all the offices back here and stuff. It's just, but see, that makes me think that it's on the same thermostat.
Who even knows? None of these thermostats do anything.
Okay, well, yeah, because that's the reason why.
I don't even know what the point of them is.
Yeah.
Yeah, before you came on here, we shuffled offices around for a couple of years. I don't know how many times we've all moved around, but some for remodel stuff, and then others for, you know, the HVAC replacement and all the all.
Well, yours was actually warm this morning when I walked into yours.
Was it?
How I felt it was.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing?
You're good. Good seeing you.
What's that?
I know. Well, I don't think they in the office because I know it's tough. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Your chance smile will be done before it starts, and they'll kick me off, but hey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just in there. I don't know how long we'll be in.
Cold. I think they're wrapping up. You texted me.
Oh, are they?
Dan,
Okay.
just to give you a heads up, this is called in for Doug and for Brandon. It's not muted, but whenever they call in, you'll hear it, okay?
Okay.
And as long as they use video like they have before, you should see them up here.
Okay.
Are you in control of the temperature?
Yeah. I don't think anything or anyone.
I love it.
We were just discussing that.
Ideal temperature.
Late night show.
Yeah, this one we'll set up for next meeting or something like that. Pretty fancy.
So if they call in, do we just,
It's ready to go. You'll hear them.
okay. Don't have to answer it or anything? Okay.
You know, you're all dialed in, you'll hear a beep or whatever, and then I guess it might say callers joined, but Doug would probably pop on to say something. And or Brandon.
Good enough.
What do you need? Oh, you want this?
Does ask me, do you hear extra coffee or? Regular coffee.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Good. You can't complain much.
I just didn't know if I was needed to refer to something very specific.
Well, yeah, of
I'll
course, yeah,
look
just
over
reach,
it.
well, yeah.
I'll share with you.
What's going on upstairs?
Killing the city, yes.
No fires? Okay, under control.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Unemployment stuff.
Decided to.
In fact, I just got a notice yesterday saying that they found one.
Oh, wow. They haven't gotten me yet. Crazy.
Oh, we done it.
We got 250 last week. 79 on Friday.
Such a baby girl.
Well, at least we already got the train for you.
Yeah.
What's
We're
she
grateful
doing?
for
Sitting up,
that.
Oh, yeah,
crawling.
yep.
That's basically all
There's some on all fours crawling, but
Yeah.
good portion of her movement's like an army crawl drag, yeah.
Some little ones like that.
About 25% are employees, and the rest of them
From
are
earlier
service
today.
hours.
And her tongue's out, yep, she's
Hey, Brandon.
puffed up, you bet, I love that.
Hello.
I like the savings,
Yeah.
she's just
Any idea how
got to
many
a
days
point
got
where
her?
she's so mobile and so into everything, she
We don't
her
see any of
numbers
those.
are fast, and she'll get kind of frustrated, but
Oh, like, funny,
more so fussing.
like Aaron got one, Rod got one, Mr. Fred.
You know, couldn't.
I didn't know he had gotten one.
better.
We've had
All
4 other elected officials. We've had 2 commissioners, Butch and Larry Stein.
They're fun. David is like a fighter, he's butt in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what Andrea did.
Hi, Doug.
I think I'm, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I can see you too.
Very good. Nice to see you.
So how come I have these boys all in my office?
You can't. Oh, I'll wait for you, you need a mic.
Are you sitting in for Miles?
Yes, there's a chance I'll be over here just
Do you have
in
a
time.
mic then? What is it?
They were wrapping up over there, but
Okay.
just in case.
Machine or? Like he's doing a presentation, I think he was using Zoom, but I couldn't hear it.
Oh, you couldn't hear or you couldn't speak?
All right.
You'd have to, I don't know, we can look at it again. You'd have to connect with your audio
Yeah.
or the phone.
Mr. Second won't be here too. Okay. Are they still doing treasure sale stuff?
I'm happy to look at it whenever. Okay.
Because he's supposed to do.
Is it going well?
Okay. All right.
It was.
Like you guys are all set.
Thank you. Really, really? Wow.
Computers here?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, because VET hasn't.
No. Gotta do it the old way.
Well, I didn't bring any. Yeah. Hey, great job, Anna, on the,
Doug.
tuition reimbursement. If I
Jonathan,
haven't said it enough, I want to say it again.
Nice to see
It was
you.
a team effort.
seeing you in person.
But you were the
For you.
team.
Thank you.
All right, I'll call a meeting to order. Meeting was properly posted on May 20th. And let's do a roll call. Mr. Engelvolson,
Present.
by video. Mr. Buchanan,
Present.
Sharita Wells, don't see her. Anna,
Present.
Mark, not here. Miles,
Here.
Gabriel sitting in for Miles for now. And Brandon Holmes,
Present.
present via WebEx. All right. So we do have a quorum. Item number 1, discussion and possible action to set date, time, and place. The meeting will reconvene in the event of technical difficulties that arise during the course of the meeting and cannot be corrected within a maximum of 30 minutes. We will ban you.
Oh, is that a difficult?
Any thoughts on when to reconvene should we lose connectivity for more than 30 minutes?
I make the motion for Thursday at 2:00.
We have a motion for Thursday at 2 p.m.
Nobody's in here, that's
in this room.
second.
All right.
Third.
We have a motion and second.
Then
All right.
on dictatorship.
Roll call. Doug?
Aye.
Rick?
Yes.
Sheree is not here. Anna?
Yeah.
Mark's not here. Miles?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Chairman, no. Thank you. Item 2, approval of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Buchanan, second by Mr. Davidson to approve the minutes. Roll call. Doug?
Yes.
Rick?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Miles?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Chairman votes aye. Item number 3, discussion, review, and possible action to review, edit, or change the current draft of the Oklahoma County Employee Handbook and create a new draft of the Oklahoma County Employee Handbook. This is the catch-all item, and I know we have some specifics. Is there anything that needs to be discussed or acted on item number 3 that you're aware of that's not already listed on the agenda? So no action on item 3. Item number 4, discussion, review, and possible action regarding the Oklahoma County Clerk's latest draft track changes version of the Employee Handbook Committee's working draft of its proposed future replacement to the current 2019 Interim Employee Handbook, reflecting all changes approved by the Handbook Committee as of the September 10th, 2019 meeting, except as noted. Doug, would you like to speak to this?
I would, Mr. Chairman and members. I'll just tell you that's largely a placeholder as a courtesy that we place that on our agenda. I'll remind you, our work is largely that of developing a working draft. We've been building one as we've gone forward. It requires a separate action after we vote to approve a change to the handbook to take it on all the way to the budget board. And there are a few items that we've done that we've not yet placed on a budget board agenda. They are being captured in this working draft, but they are, as of yet, have not been passed into law. A good example would be, you'll go back to last winter, our chairman brought to us a revised definition of, I think, a critical employee or something for the medical marijuana amendment. We're going back a number of months, I realize, but we did recognize the value. I think what Dan brought to us was the exact wording that he found in the statutes. There'd been in the 2019 session a revision, and Dan brought that to us and we voted it in. We just didn't see a necessity to go ahead and publish a new handbook to replace the 2019 interim, which is in force. So I'm merely reminding you, as we've had a few of those things come up, work through our committee, we've embraced them. They're being captured in that document. And it is my intention, time permitting, to try to take those items that we've already approved as a committee that are captured in this working draft, and particularly and only any of those that we have already voted to advance to the budget board, to capture those and get them on budget board meeting, perhaps next week. I don't know if I can get a full comprehensive version, but if we are able to, either then or at another meeting, we can have what we would then call a 2020 interim handbook. There are some very minor things that we voted into the working handbook that we've never voted to take all the way to the budget board. They're very minor. Some of those are in section 1. Someday it's appropriate for us to go capture those and take them forward, but we've all been rather busy with COVID issues. So my recommendation is that we focus on those particular items that have been put before us today, with the goal of seeing we get those approved, take them to the budget board meeting next week as either individual policies, or if I'm able to produce something that captures any of the other ones that we've already voted to take, such as the medical marijuana update, we could take that and have a newer version of an interim handbook. Probably more explanation than you wanted, but I wanted to go to that knowing we have some new folks with us. Rick, I see a question.
Yep. I just turned 63 about a week ago.
Congratulations.
And I had some trouble tracking. You have different colors, like things are highlighted in yellow and red. There's things in blue. Where I got confused in going through the document today was when we made that change. And I was wondering if you could notate that somewhere in the document to say, this is what we discussed and approved on so-and-so date. Do you have that?
Rick, I understand where you're coming from. It was a massive undertaking, but I'll go back about maybe 2 years when John left to go to a separate office through retirement. He passed along to me a spreadsheet that he had been compiling, capturing that kind of information, sort of a historical. And I went through as a due diligence and verified every one of those to make sure I had received the handoff. So I know we have that document. They've not been taken into the particular working draft to denote it that way. That would be a large undertaking, but I can find anything, I believe, to verify and help you recognize that we did.
Well, let me give you an example, like on the open records policy, okay, which is, you had a little parenthetical. And I thought that we had discussed, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we were just kind of simplify it and just say refer to the Open Records Act policy in state statute.
Yeah, Rick, in fact, I believe we have an item on that on the agenda today. No, actually don't need to. I did research this. What you see in the working draft, what that highlighting is about, is a note from me to myself and others that what is in the handbook at present in that yellow section is not necessarily what we voted on, but it does reflect everything as of like September. I've got some notes to myself, but I believe it was last December 20th or so. Our group voted unanimously to delete altogether reference to the open records section from the handbook. This was based on counsel from our good counsel in the DA's office. Right. And so I just haven't caught up the working draft to reflect that. But that is exactly one of the items, Rick, I'm glad you brought up, that is ready to go to the budget board. And it's my intent to bring that particular recommendation that we voted, I think it was in December 2019, to the budget board. And in publishing a new handbook interim, it will be removed altogether. We still have a procedure that's out there that's a mirror image, but it need not be in both places.
That's where I was struggling with is if you had a legend, you know, what's in yellow, what's in red, what's in blue, at least some reference to say this section will be deleted per DA recommendation. or something as of December 2019, stuff like that, that way I don't have to think, well, he just inserted that.
Rick, I understand what you're saying. If I may put a word to it, is you would welcome a contemporaneous working draft. The one that we have admittedly is some months old. It's reflective of the changes, and that I accept responsibility for that. And I'm happy to try to work towards what you're asking for. I think it would be helpful.
Doug, do you have a list of the items in section 2 that have not yet been changed or added or deleted that have not yet been approved? Because I know we've worked on this a while and not worked on it at all for a while as well. And Rick turned 63 and he's just a pup compared to me. And I tend to forget, the things that we haven't had approved yet. And I think that would be helpful if we could, because I'm at this point about ready, after we finish today, let's get the entire section 2 updated and approved by the budget board, and then we can move on from there and continue to meet and update as we need to. Bless you.
Bless you.
It's in my elbow, but it's...
Sanitize.
Sanitize it, Graham. The whole area. Bubble girl. I don't want that back.
I agree with you that there are some items in section 2, some of the other sections. I'll just say there may be some items in section 2 that we haven't gone full step to say, let's advance this to the budget board with an additional special meeting and a little time to prep for it. I can identify that we just need the commitment of our group to reconvene in a special meeting where we can get those items on before then. Some of those are merely maybe going page by page, as we all know we've done sometimes. Just say, hey, we're all good with this. The significant ones that we needed, we've taken on forward, but there are probably a few yet that aren't.
Yeah, and I know some of the changes we've made in this section are just, changing a word here or there, or whatever, which are minor. But I know we updated the medical marijuana policy with the new language from the state and, some things like that. And even if we can't get all of that done before next week's budget board meeting, I think we should push maybe, because we got a meeting in July, the second Tuesday in July, and perhaps we could have it then and make a push to get it all updated and to the budget board for approval, and then ultimately to the BOCC, and we can publish an updated employee handbook.
I think that's a great target, and I think the July should be doable, and I'd be happy to take that on.
Okay.
I have
Thank you.
a question,
Go ahead.
and it's more just general. Is there a reason that we don't send these to the budget board as we do them? Is it just for convenience? Like the medical marijuana thing, that actually impacts our employees. There are probably employees who have medical marijuana licenses or would like to have medical marijuana licenses, but can't because we haven't updated our policy.
Well, actually, what we have in the book now is very similar to what the statute's changed to. It changed a little bit of the definition of safety-sensitive positions, but the other portions of the medical marijuana policy really didn't change. It's just the wording on how it was, and what we had in the policy covered what the new said at that when it went into effect as well. So it was very close. So yeah, I mean, there. Other than the fact that it takes a lot of work to republish
Right, that makes sense.
and reprint every time we make a change, we try to do several at one time. Any other comments or discussions? Do we need a motion to approve this current working draft?
It's really not required. It's been approved before. It's just here before us, really to facilitate this kind of a good discussion we just had.
Okay.
So good points noted, and I thank you, Rick and Dan and others for bringing them up.
So, do we need a motion on this item at all?
I would just table it or bring it back to the next meeting.
All right.
No action required.
All right. We've got an action item coming up next, item number 5.
It's a possible action.
No, it's an action.
No, it says possible.
All right. Discussion and possible action.
There you go.
To create a new section 2.19 continuing education tuition reimbursement program, establishing policy and procedures concerning a new continuing education tuition reimbursement program for eligible county employees pursuing approved higher education coursework in accordance with 19 OS Section 339A5 and BOCC Resolution 2020-708 as directed by the Oklahoma County Budget Board on January 14th, 2020. Thanks, Doug.
Yes.
This was an item that was brought up by Anna back at the end of the year regarding a new portion of, or an addition to the statute that allowed for tuition reimbursement in Oklahoma County. And Anna has been working on the policy, and you should have the attachment for that policy. Have any of you had a chance to review that and take a look at it?
It's almost identical to what was initially attached.
Yeah.
Months ago.
Yeah, it's been edited a little bit. We've had some discussion, and
Is there still, this was based on budgetary availability, correct?
correct.
Okay.
And let me talk a little bit about that. In the budget requests for this next fiscal year, I added an amount of $40,000 to my budget since the statute, as well as our policy, said that human resources would be the keeper of this and would handle all of this. In the Policy and Governance Committee, they suggested that it be pulled out of my budget and be placed in general government as a line item in the general government M&O section. So that has been added to the request that Kelly Thomas has done, adding $40,000 as a line item. Well, then we got into flat budgets, and so we don't have any funding for this starting July 1, but hopefully as we move forward and budget requests are considered and approved for the next fiscal year, that will be approved.
Yeah.
Has that been discussed in BET at all?
No.
And been introduced?
No, nothing new has been introduced as far as budgetary considerations.
Okay.
This is a reimbursement program?
It is a reimbursement, and
it's been a while since I've seen a college campus. Does anybody, when's the semester over?
well, it can be multiple. I mean, it could be a spring and fall, or a midterm, or a quarter, or.
So one of the things that we've discovered with CARES Act is you need to create a beginning, a baseline of when you're going to do reimbursement for. Is that in the document?
It is in the document.
Okay, so when was that date?
Well, it frames it around the start of class. So I think it's 30 days or something like that. They have to submit their request for reimbursement a certain number of days prior to the start of their semester. And so if they did that when there wasn't funding available, it would be as simple as saying, we're sorry, there's not funding available.
Yeah, actually, in the policy, item number 5 in section 2, it says submit a tuition reimbursement application to the Human Resources Office no sooner than 30 days prior and no later than 30 days after the beginning of the quarter, semester, or other time period for which is the reimbursement is requested. And then in receiving payment, they have to get an A or B to get 100% tuition reimbursement. A C or a passing grade on a pass-fail would qualify them for 75% reimbursement. And I did find an error as I've read the statute again and compared it to our policy. To receive payment, an employee we have it listed as 30 days of course completion must submit to the HR office their passing indication of passing grade, indication of payment, and any other documentation needed. And in the statute it says 90 days. So that would be one change that we would need to make is within 90 days following the completion.
The completion of the course, but we're asking for submission for reimbursement
30 days.
again at the beginning of the semester.
So they know before at least within a month of starting school, they know whether or not they can count on any money.
At least 75% reimbursement.
If they pass.
If they pass.
With a C or better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And regardless of budget, there is discretion for if it's related to county business.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So we think we've covered pretty much everything in here. The maximum would be $1,500 per semester, $2,500 in a calendar year, and a lifetime max of $10,000. To qualify, they would have had to work for the county for 5 consecutive years, have to be enrolled in an educational institution within the Oklahoma State system of higher education, pursuing a degree, course, or certification in a field relevant to employment with the county, take 4-credit coursework related to a field in which the county recruits, then the tuition reimbursement application, and commit to 1 year of employment with the county from the date of the last tuition reimbursement.
Are we doing this for continuing education, such as technical, et cetera, and then undergrad? Or are we doing continuing education period? So if I go out and start getting an MBA, are we going to start chipping in on an MBA for me, or are we?
Does it relate to county business?
An MBA?
Yeah,
As a chief deputy? I'm fine with it, I'm just saying.
Be enrolled, and this is right out of the statute, be enrolled in an educational institution within the Oklahoma State system of higher education.
It doesn't say what degree.
Pursue a degree, course, or certification in a field relevant to employment within the county, and take 4-credit work related to a field in which the county recruits.
Yeah, so that's
now, part of the question is, does technical school qualify?
Yeah.
It should, because we have a lot of folks that work at our yards and other places that go to tech schools and get continuing or get education on whatever.
Be helpful to facilities as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
HVAC,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, Miles, I might share with you, remind you, this is reflective of legislation passed in the 2019 session. And when we brought a resolution before Budget Board involving this program, and they recommended that the BOCC do approve such a program being created, a question was asked by Commissioner Mond's representative, as I recall, either during the meeting or immediately afterwards. He asked me that question about, hey, would this cover career tech for people like you and Rick mentioned? And like all of us agree that would be good, as Chairman said, And in fact, we were supporting legislation that was introduced in the 2020 session that would have expanded the authority to allow for that kind of thing. But due to the truncated session, it did not move through. So we're eager and will be welcoming your support to help bring legislation to expand it to that in the future. Otherwise, it does not discriminate about what type of degree or another. It leaves the discretion to the elected official within the regulations that are stipulated here.
I think I brought this up last time. Rick, you were here when this really started, when we started a rollover of IT, because we would train them, spend a lot of money getting them up, and then they'd go off. But this, we're kind of safeguarding ourselves to a year, so.
And they've had to be with the county for 5 years, so they're, at that point, they're in 6 years. There's presumed some level.
Yeah.
If I may, to add to Miles' question, Miles, the statute symbol 590 made available to the BOCCs to require such a commitment, but that was discretionary. So whereas the 5 years and all the other qualifications, most of the A and the B were included in the statute, the other was permissive, and it was our recommendation of this body that we went through budget board and the BOCC, and they did specifically include in the resolution that we would implement a 1-year clawback.
What action are we needing on this? Because I think we've approved this. I think it's gone for the budget board, and I think it's gone for the BOCC.
Well, the idea went in front of budget board.
Yeah.
I think the specific policy.
We did not approve the actual rules. Just the intent that they wanted it.
Right.
And it's all contingent on funding.
I think the thought was we didn't want to invest too much effort into it until we tested the will of the governing bodies, make sure they were supportive. We did get specific direction from budget board inviting this committee to come back, hash out the details, and then bring it back, which is the intent. It does sound like Dan might have an amendment that he might entertain.
Just the one amendment.
So we can amend it, and then item 6, we vote to recommend it to the budget board, and then eventually BOCC, is it right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, any more discussion on the rules for this, the process?
I think it's great. Great job.
And thanks to Anna
And Doug.
For hard work in working through all of this. A lot of discussion I know took place, and a lot of ideas thrown out as it was worked on.
Chairman, would you entertain a motion to amend or perhaps you guys have a procedure, you know better than I have. Should we accept the document as a working draft for today's meeting, and then we go on to a motion to amend it? Is that your preference?
Pardon?
Was this attached? You said this was attached, right?
Attached.
Yeah, there's no reason to accept the document if it was attached.
All right.
Thank you, Miles. I've always wondered about.
We're just going to skip one.
Is there a motion to amend the one section go from 30 days to 90 days on the reimbursement?
Section H, paragraph 1.
Section H, paragraph 1.
And that's after the fact?
That's in seeking reimbursement.
Yeah, so moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second to amend it, section H1, to go from 30 days to 90 days. Call the roll. Doug?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Sheree is not here. Anna?
Aye.
Miles?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
And chairman votes aye. So that passes now. Motion to approve the document as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Move in a second. All right, Doug?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Miles?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
And chairman votes aye. Very good, thank you. That's a nice step
We're
forward.
gonna be flooded for that.
Item number 6. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, may I add one thing, I think, for the benefit of our committee? You addressed the way that you had requested funding.
But they'll just turn around and say, you paid.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'll give them a moment. Chairman, committee members, one follow-up item came to my mind. There was a good question, and Dan explained how he had included an item in his estimate of needs for $40,000. But if you all will recall, the budget board took action to approve a fiscal year 21 budget, which will be under consideration in a public hearing next week, which is, as I understand it, a mirror image of the fiscal 20 budget. Therefore, the budget that will go into effect July 1st would not include any funding for the tuition reimbursement program. The plan, as I understand it, I've asked Danny Lambert how this might work, is that at time of September supplement, by then, there would be refinement made to the base fiscal 21 budget, and it would be at that time that, and by that time, there would be consideration of that $40,000 request, which means, for as far as you communicate to your fellow employees, that the great likelihood is that the funding would be in place for them to enroll in coursework beginning January 1, 2021. Am I thinking right on that? Yes. So it's a program that's coming. I think people would be benefited if they would research and find out when the courses are offered and all, but we want to be sure they understand that it's probably going to take effect January 1.
I mean, Doug, there's two ways to handle it, the way I see it. Similarly to what Anna said earlier, they can go ahead and apply now, and if the $40,000 isn't funded for, then our response would be simple. Due to budgetary constraints, funds are not available, or we could put a start date on this program as January 1, 2021, as you suggested. So, I mean, either way, I think honestly works.
And my assumption,
Go ahead, Anna.
sorry, Doug, my assumption is that it's never going to be consistent, right? That we might have a program in 2021 and then not in 2022 and then again in 2023. And so just, I mean, really, it's, I think, on Dan for his office to say, yes, applications are open. Sorry, applications are not open right now.
That's confusing.
I'm pretty sure the September supplement didn't really get approved until October.
Well, there's a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
It's called a September supplement, but it's not approved until
Yeah.
October, yeah.
Well, as we've kind of talked about, funding may or may not be available every year, may or may not be available every semester. This thing may be wildly popular, and $40,000 doesn't get us very far, and we may have to come back to BEC and say, you know, this thing has exceeded our honest expectations, and we'd like another $40,000. We don't know. We're going into this thing blind, and we'll see what happens. I think it's an outstanding program.
Okay.
And talking with Aaron Spitzer, this reimbursement up to $5,250 annually is tax-free. And so, under IRS regs. So, I mean, it's a nice little benefit for people who are pursuing a degree or pursuing a certification or enhancing their career.
So it's not subject to tax?
Up to,
Anything less than $5,250 a year.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah. All right, any other discussion on item 5?
I just have one question.
All right.
Is CLEAT considered professional training? Are we gonna start paying for CLEAT certification out of this fund?
It has to go through the Oklahoma system of higher education. And so that's
Perfect.
the question, is
Good clarification.
if OSU offers CLEAT certification,
Okay.
maybe.
Brandon, did you
They
have a
don't.
question?
CLEAT's all separate. CLEAT's all out of Ada, correct, Brandon? And it's a state agency and everything, if I recall correctly.
Right, and CLEAT doesn't cost us any money.
Right. So,
Very good.
perfect.
Question answered.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.
Asked and answered.
All right, any other discussion on item 5? Item 6, discussion and possible action to make a recommendation to the Budget Board to create a new section 2.19, continuing education tuition reimbursement program, establishing policy and procedures concerning new continuing education tuition reimbursement program for eligible county employees pursuing approved higher education coursework in accordance to those things that we've already discussed.
Chairman, if I'm not mistaken, I had a motion to approve, seconded by Anna, and we took the roll and passed it, and it was me that brought this subject up before we were leaving to make sure we had a common understanding as to when the program would actually take effect. I think we've handled this item. Maybe the clerk there can affirm.
Yeah.
Everyone,
January 1. Didn't we state that that was
Just
our?
for the record, we can stipulate to January 1st, 2021.
Clean it up. Just make a motion to start at January 1, 2021.
Yeah.
Is that your motion?
That would be my motion.
Second.
Would you state your motion?
My motion would be to make this recommendation to the Budget Board that this program begin January 1st, 2021.
Second.
All right. Any questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. Doug?
aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Miles?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
And chairman votes aye. Thank you. Motion passed. It's a nice added benefit for our employees.
Great.
Item number 7, discussion and possible action to approve a comprehensive new Section 3.10 holiday leave time in lieu of the existing Section 3.10 holidays to more clearly establish the county's policy and procedure to provide its employees with 8 hours of holiday leave to be used toward each state-recognized holiday regardless of the number of hours worked in a given employee's work schedule in accordance with state statute at the request of the Office of State Auditor and Inspector and in consideration of counsel from the District Attorney's Office. There was a section attached. Have you had a chance to take a look at that?
Yes.
It's all done.
Who are Julie and Bob?
I'm sorry?
For Julie and
Their names I
James,
No, I think a key issue here is making sure, Brandon, you're okay with this for the sheriff's office and juvenile, right?
I can't speak for juvenile, but yeah, we're fine with the sheriff's office, sure.
I can't speak for juvenile. But it covers the law enforcement side, correct, sir?
It does, yes.
Okay.
I
All right.
apologize. I haven't looked at it. What changes? Nothing changes.
Well, so Doug, you'll have to step in and educate, if I get this wrong.
Or Brandon.
Or Brandon. I think both of them got to beat this subject up pretty extensively in the past. So like, you work 4/10s, instead of you still staying on that 4/10 schedule to work your 40-hour week, if there's a holiday in the middle of it, you're only gonna get 8 for that holiday as per state statute and law.
Okay, yeah.
Now, you'll have to pick up that extra 2 hours within that week to hit your 40. Is that safe, Brandon, Doug?
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, right now, I think the handbook says something along the lines of if you get the amount of holiday hours that's based on your regularly scheduled shift. And so since we don't have all 8-hour employees, we have some 10, some 12. Miles is right. Some of our employees get 10, some of them get 12. And the only reason we haven't changed that is because the handbook hasn't really changed. And we're just kind of waiting on that key piece. Yeah, we're not bucking the system here. We just want to make sure that we're in line with the handbook on this deal. And once this changes, we're good to go.
Good, thank you. Other questions?
No, that makes sense.
All right, any questions on the policy? Do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll. Doug?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Miles?
Aye.
Brandon? And chairman votes aye. Motion passes. Okay. Item number 8, discussion and possible action to make recommendation to the Oklahoma County Budget Board to approve the comprehensive new section 3.10 holiday leave time in lieu of existing section 3.10 holidays to more clearly establish the county's policy and procedure to provide its employees with 8 hours of holiday leave time to be used toward each state recognized holiday regardless of the number of hours in a given employee's work schedule.
Motion to recommend to Budget Board.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to recommend to the Budget Board.
Mr. Chairman, may I bring up one item that Miles made me think of earlier? Friendly amendment, please. As our payroll administrator will understand, and everyone there are transition issues. We have people in the pipeline. I would like to, just as I think Rick did a moment ago on the previous policy, in which he recommended a specific effective date, I'd like to amend Miles' motion, if I may, or ask him to accept that, to put an effective date of July 1st, 2020. And then when we get this before the Budget Board, it will be quite clear that for the 4th of July holiday, that's when it starts to go into effect, in essence. So that would be, however you want to handle that, Chairman.
Accepted.
Okay.
I second it. I second it. I accept it.
I second the
Amended.
Say that
So,
real quick. Second
is everyone clear? We're going to vote on moving this to the Budget Board with an effective date of 7/1/2020.
Correct.
All right. Doug?
Thank you, Doug.
Aye. As in, yeah, aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Miles?
Yes.
Brandon?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. Motion passed.
Good job. Good job.
All right. Thank you all. Any board comments? Doug?
I will post them.
I don't know that I'm allowed to do this, but as a board member in Oklahoma City, and we lost a great man in Don Porter Sunday night, who's Mr. Softball. He's a dear friend of my family's, and I was at his granddaughter's wedding last time I saw him. And if you don't know who he is, read Barry Trammell's sports story yesterday. Rick, you know him, and it's just a great man. Put it in the Olympics. Thank you.
All right. Rick, comment?
No, sir.
Anna?
No.
Miles?
No, thank you.
Brandon?
No, thank you.
And I'll just say thank you all for the hard work today. We've moved forward, and we'll be doing this again in about another month. All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. Doug?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Miles?
Yes, as an aye.
Brandon? And I vote aye. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Why am I texting?
Bye, Doug.
See ya. Bye, Carrie. Bye, John. Bye, Rick. Miles.
See you, Doug.
I see you. God bless
In
you.
the castle.
Storming the castle.
Well, be safe.
All right.
Right.
See you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Gary.
Tried to spin out a lot lately.
Miles, what I was trying to say is I as in amen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I won't be here next.
No, the chairman always presents. Who's their vice chair?
Doug's the vice chair. Doug, will you present to the budget board next week? I
Sure
will
will.
not. I will be on vacation and unavailable.
Good for you.
How about that?
I think you should zoom in from your vacation.
You could do that?
There's no service. Wherever it is, there's no internet services.
Bermuda Triangle.
Wherever.
Will you be able to do it, Doug?
Yes, happy to. I actually presented the tuition reimbursement program a few months ago to the budget board, so
Good. Thank you.
thank you all.
All right, see ya.
Bye-bye.
Sure.